Hi, it's Miranda. So today I wanted to do the Bookish Bookin Book Tag. I was tagged by Steve Donahue. So let's just jump right in. Number one is, what is a well-loved book that you hated? I've already talked about this book before, but it's freaking Walden. And so you may wonder why I have a copy if I hate it so much, but I talked about this in my last video, I think. I just feel like I should like it. I feel like maybe there's something I'm missing. So I found this for 50 cents at my favorite bookstore and just got it. So I'll be giving that a second shot soon. Maybe. Number two is, what is a guilty pleasure book? I talked about this in my last video too, but whatever. Or in my second to last video. And that's Tarzan. I know Whitney from All the Shelves was talking about how it's like a kind of a sexist and racist and whatever book, but I just like it. This is the Jungle Tales of Tarzan because the only physical editions that I have of this book are 100 years old. So they're right there on the shelf. Number three is, have you ever spoiled a book for anybody? Not intentionally, because that is literally the worst. So if I have, I'm sorry, but I don't think so. What is a book that made you ugly cry? I don't really have a soul, so like I don't cry often at all, especially at books and movies and stuff. I just like, it doesn't affect me that much. But I remember being a kid, I was staying up late, oh my god, reading this and like crying. So maybe as a kid I cried more, I don't know. What is your latest DNF? Unless it's like something I started for a class and then didn't get to finish by the end of the course because I was too busy because I have horrible time management skills. Nothing. Number six, what have you read solely due to controversy? Nothing solely due to controversy, but I think the most controversial book I've read, arguably, is Lolita, which I don't have with me. But yeah, we all know that's like kind of gross, but I really liked it. Number seven, a book where you questioned the author's sanity. I don't anymore, but when I first read this book, I was so confused, and that was 100 Years of Solitude. I have in Spanish as well. I had never encountered or even heard of magic realism before, so I just picked it up because I'd heard of it before and knew that it was supposed to be good, and then all this jumping around and a million people with the same name, like that really confused me, and I just thought, does this author have any idea what he's doing? And in fact, he does. Several years later, I can tell you he does. Number eight was the most cringeworthy. Oh, I meant to pull this up on my iPad. I agree with Steve's answer on this one. The ones where they talk about like their religion and stuff and religious experiences. This one I found for free the other day on iBooks. I can't even remember what it's called, but it opened up talking about how strong and brawny his son is and how he saved this girl's life when they were out surfing and stuff, and it's like how surfing has brought him and his son so much closer to God. And I wish I could find this, like a selection from it. It's called Deep Adventure. This is what it looks like. So if you could see that at all. By Ben Wozniak. I don't know. But it opened up talking about how big and brawny his son is, and he saved this girl's life because he was there at the right time, and it was like really cringeworthy. I was gonna say go read it for yourself, but maybe don't. Number nine, what did you read solely based on the cover? Maybe if you're not from America, you don't know that everything at the Dollar Tree is $1, including any books they may have there. And I found this one, and I had to make sure it was $1 because I was like, well, surely brand new quality hardbacks, surely they're not $1, but they are. So I found this one. I thought it was beautiful. I may have read the description, maybe I didn't, because it was $1. I was like, whatever, well, you know, even if it's horrible, I've only lost $1. It ended up being really, I can't stop fidgeting today. It ended up being a really, really good book. It's about a community in Echo Park, which is in Los Angeles, and it's largely Latino and Hispanic and stuff like that. And just basically how oppressed they are, and how these little girls had been dressed up like Madonnas, like Madonna, and they were all dressed up like Madonna, so there were a bunch of Madonnas, if you know what I mean. And there was like a drive-by shooting, and one of them got killed. So that's how the title came about. And it's actually like I was gonna say a vignette, but that might not be right. Where like it's a bunch of stories in a row, and it changes perspective without any warning. And or maybe I'm just an idiot, and it took me a while to realize that like at the beginning of each chapter, it's a new narrator, but they end up being all connected at the end, and it's really cool. I hope that didn't spoil it, because it's not like a huge spoiler or anything. But number 10, what's a book you're embarrassed to admit you've read? I'm not that embarrassed to admit that I've read it, but maybe that I liked it. Back when I graduated high school, around like the end of high school, beginning of college, around 2012, I started getting into John Green. It was like around the time that The Fault in Our Stars came out, because I was already watching the Vlogbrothers on YouTube, and so I liked John as a person, and then he wouldn't stop talking about his book that he was coming out with, so I went ahead and pre-ordered it, but that's not the one. So I read The Fault in Our Stars, and then I started reading the rest of his books, and they were okay, but it seemed like everyone was going crazy over The Fault in Our Stars and Looking for Alaska, and those were like okay to me. Looking for Alaska definitely wasn't that good, because it was such a like manic pixie dream girl bullshit type of thing. But I really did like The Abundance of Catherine's, which I'd tried to read several times before, and like just kept putting it down for some reason. It was just hard to get into. But after I read some John Green, I finally read that one, and that was definitely my favorite. It might be because my middle name is Catherine, and it's spelled exactly the way that he likes it. Like, he won't date anyone unless it's spelled the way I spell Catherine. But that was several years ago, so like for the past couple of years, everyone's like, oh my god, The Fault in Our Stars, friggin' Looking for Alaska, Paper Towns. I was trying to be like, you know, Abundance of Catherine's is the best one, because that was like the one no one was reading. But now I'm like, is that something to be proud of, that I've like bragged about reading John Green? I don't know. But also just still being in college, and I feel like everyone I watch and really respect on here is older, and so they know what good literature is, and I'm just, it can be kind of embarrassing, I guess, to be like, oh yeah, I read that book, I thought it was really good, and then be like, it wasn't that good, you don't know real literature. I'm sure that's not what they're actually thinking, but it just, me still being in college and like relatively young, I'm just afraid that the books that I genuinely like and my opinions are just far inferior to theirs, and like I'm just not mature enough yet. I don't know. So I guess just being my age, I'm like a little, what's the word, like shy about sharing my opinions, because I don't want to say that I really like a book if it's actually like incredibly sexist. Like if I came on here and started raving about Tarzan, that would be embarrassing, because I haven't read it in like a couple years actually. And then Whitney came on here and was like, oh, well, it's actually really sexist and racist and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, who even likes that book? Definitely not me. You know what I mean? So anyway, so number 11, what is an unknown book that more people need to know about? I think this would be the display is flipped, and I'm still not used to it, okay? Just bear with me. I think more people need to know about this. It's a great insight into the Hispanic, and even if you want to say the Mexican struggle in America, because There's not only the little girl dying in here, but there's also a grown man who sits in the parking lot of Home Depot every day waiting for white people to drive by with a truck, and so they can like load up and go work illegally for the day. And it's like, it's heart-wrenching, because I think a lot of people fail to realize that Mexicans and illegal immigrants in general have to risk a lot to get here, and even living here is dangerous. But the fact that they still do it, I'm not saying that justifies it, but the fact that they still do it has to say something about where they came from. And since they're willing to risk all that to be here and to work the illegal, dangerous jobs, and just to give their kids a better education and stuff like that, it's like, it's pretty telling of what must be going on where they're from. So I won't get into that, but I do think more people should read that. I think it would help people be a little more understanding of illegal immigration and stuff. Not to say that all of that justifies illegal immigration, but it would just be a good way for people to see the other side of the story. Anyway, what is your favorite villain is number 12. This could also work for number 11, an unknown book more people need to know about. Oh, I don't know how to say her name. Helen Yvette Grimes did this complete, I'm pretty sure complete translation of all Norse mythology, and it's not that big. The display is flipped. It's like messing with me. And if you read the introduction, she talks about how when she was a kid, someone drew this symbol on a napkin and told her that it was like top secret. And it, long story short, led to her entire life centered around trying to figure out what this means. Like, she spent her whole childhood like obsessed with it, and it somehow led her to look into Norse mythology, basically. And so she ended up spending like her whole life working on this book, and it's a great translation. This is, I think, the first edition because it has a lot of typos in it, but hey, we all make mistakes, okay? So she's just devoted her whole life basically to this symbol, and it's hilarious. But she's so not well known, however you're supposed to say that if you have questions about anything you read in this book, you can email her and she probably will respond. So that's the great thing about such little known authors. There we go. Little known authors, that they still have the capacity to be very communicative, but obviously, you know, the more popular they get, the harder it is to get a hold of them, but which is understandable. But more people need to know about Helen Yvette Grimes. Here's if you want to screenshot that or write it down. The next question. Oh, I didn't even answer the question. What the hell? Okay. So my favorite villain is Loki, because he's freaking hilarious, because he's like constantly trying to ruin Thor's life and messing with his wife and just pulling practical jokes on him. But he's also hilarious because he like cross-dresses all the time and loves acting like a woman, and even turns himself into a white horse so that he can get pregnant and have children, like horse babies. It's so weird. It's so weird, but it's hilarious. You know what I mean? And if you've read, I can't remember what it's called. There's one story in here where, oh, I can't remember which one it is. I'll put it in the description if I can find it. There's one story in here where somebody steals Thor's, or somebody wants Thor's wife, and has his hammer or something, I think. I need to reread it, obviously, but basically Loki helps Thor go to this person's house and cross-dress, like Thor cross-dresses as Freya so that he can go get his hammer back. It's hilarious. And like, Loki already knows all there is to know about cross-dressing and is trying to help Thor be as ladylike as possible, and it's just hilarious. Number 13, what's a book you enjoyed outside of your normal reading? It's not outside of my normal reading anymore, but when I met my fiance, he introduced me to manga and anime, because when I was in high school, all the weirdos liked anime and manga. Okay, like I know that's not fair because I'm a weirdo too, but like it was just like the really weird weirdos with like long hair and dragon shirts liked anime and manga. But when I met him, he introduced me to like anime and manga and showed me that you don't have to be like greasy long hair and dragon shirts and a WoW subscription to like anime and manga. I'm pretty sure this is the first manga I read. It comes in, I got these editions which are all black, and there's 6 of these because there's 2 volumes per of this volume. You know what I mean? Terminology. This is incredible. Like, this is by far the best. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get this flipped thing eventually. This is by far the best manga I've read so far. It's very intellectual in that you really have to keep up with the facts, and it's just like multi-layered, and it's always, it's just, it keeps you interested because I don't want to spoil it for you because I think I've got a good no spoil streak going here. But the main character is trying not to get caught, and he just keeps almost getting caught over and over and over again, and keeps it interesting. Anyway, number 14, tropes you actually enjoy. I'm gonna have to agree with Steve on this one in that I think we need to learn what trope really means. Number 15, who inspired you to join BookTube? This is the last question. I had wanted to join BookTube for a long time. I'd been watching BookTube videos for a really long time, but it wasn't until I started watching people who weren't afraid to just set up a camera wherever, just film whatever they're thinking, minimal editing, and just throw it up. You know what I mean? I had been following people who had these perfect like studios with perfect lighting, and it was perfectly scripted and stuff like that. But one of the first, I want to say the first, I'll say lo-fi booktuber I watched was Conrad from The Deckled Edge. He really opened my eyes to how to be a good booktuber without looking all pristine and perfect lighting and, you know, having your makeup perfectly done and like bullshit like that. Because you see me, like I have no makeup. I just want to talk to you about books, you know what I mean? So it was refreshing to see somebody who just set up a webcam in their bedroom that wasn't perfectly set up and the lighting was iffy and it was just very authentic. And he did a recommendation video of other booktubers one day, and Musical Tati was on there, and I am in love with her now. Like it was her and Conrad that were like the 2 first booktubers that showed me like, this is the kind of booktubing I can do. I can just get on here and just talk about whatever books I want to, not worry about what I look like or what my set looks like or what my camera looks like. Just get on here and talk about books because that's what we're all here for. You know what I mean? So that was really cool. Another kind of booktube, kind of, it's like half booktube, half social awareness, if you want to say that, is Lena Norms. I think that's her name on here. Lena Norms. Same deal. She just sets up her camera wherever. She always looks cute though. I look rough, she looks cute. And Tati looks cute too. But she'll just get on here and talk about like, here, this book was like, you know, talked about all these social issues, and here's how I feel about feminism, and she'll just get on here and tell you exactly what she's thinking, whether it be about books, whether it be about Brexit. She's made some Brexit videos. It's just very authentic. I would say those were my inspirations for starting my booktube channel, is those 3 people. And I'm glad to see I have since found Steve Donahue, who is exactly along the same lines, and so I just like our little lo-fi community. They might not know. I know I've talked to Steve and Tatiana before. I don't think Conrad knows I exist, but that's okay. I just like to pretend that we're all this like really lo-fi, authentic little group in BookTube. I hope you like this tag. I don't know who else to tag. I feel like it's kind of an old tag. So if you're watching this and you haven't done it, you're tagged. I have a bunch of things I want to film. If you're watching this, let me know in the comments how you would feel about me posting more. Well, I'm probably going to do it anyway, but I'd like to know what you think. More like academic type of videos, like academia kind of stuff. Like, I think it would be interesting if I made a video about different research papers I've done, but make them palatable to a video audience, you know what I mean? Like, not just sit here and read the paper out loud. But I've lately done at least 2 research papers which I found really interesting, and they do, since I'm an English literature major, they are relevant to BookTube. So let me know if you'd like to see those. I just finished a class on Sherlock. Oh, that was going to be one of my answers, actually. There's a lot of really fun villains in Sherlock, but too late. I'd love to talk to you about my Sherlock paper, because I talked about whether or not he's a sociopath, and then I did a video on Jane Austen talking about who her intended audience is, like who she's ideally talking to, because I feel like nowadays the average person who is not an English major would read, like, is that, what am I trying to say? The average Jane Austen reader who's not an English major is a woman. And even then, I took a Jane Austen class recently and it was all girls. I should note that it was only 6 people total, 6 women total. Maybe if the class had been bigger, there would have been some guys in it, but I think it'd be interesting. I talked a lot about how she popularized free and direct discourse, and how she wrote one of the first, like, real novels. So if that's something y'all would be interested to hear about, I would love to get on here and talk to you about it. But we are approaching 27 minutes, so I'm going to go. I will see you soon. I have a lot of videos I want to do, but for now, thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.